let's talk about the crypto market, because right now it feels like it's being pulled in two completely different directions. On one hand, you have absolute chaos and fear. But on the other, maybe, just maybe, there's a historic opportunity hiding in plain sight. We're going to dig into what our source material says is really going on. I mean, this just says it all, right? You see this kind of sentiment all over social media. And hey, maybe it's even how you're feeling, that the whole thing is rigged and the little guy is just getting crushed. But is that the full picture? So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we're going to look at all that fear. Then we'll flip the script and check out the contrarian argument. After that, we'll see what the big money, the institutions, are doing. Then we'll take a deep dive into Ethereum, which is showing some surprising strength. And we'll wrap up with a really big picture look at Bitcoin's future. All right, first up, let's just acknowledge the elephant in the room. The anxiety out there is real, it's intense, and honestly, it's pretty understandable when you look at what's been happening. Just look at this number, 6. So what is this? Well, this is the latest score from the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. It's basically a mood ring for the market. And right now, yeah, that mood is about as bad as it gets. And I want you to understand, this isn't just low, it's historically low. We are literally one single point away from the lowest reading ever. The market hasn't felt this scared in more than 6 years. That's how deep this anxiety runs. So what's causing all this FUD, this fear, uncertainty, and doubt? Well, the source points to a kind of perfect storm. You've got the Treasury sucking money out of the system, you've got political drama with the new Fed chair and the midterms, and on top of all that, you have these really damaging headlines popping up. It's a ton for any market to deal with. Okay, so we get it. People are scared, and for good reason. But now we're going to pivot. Let's look at this through a different lens. The contrarian's playbook. The whole idea of finding an opportunity precisely when everyone else sees nothing but risk. And this quote is really the heart of the argument. Think about it. Market bottoms don't happen when the news is great and everyone's happy. No, they happen when it feels like the world is ending, when uncertainty is through the roof. It's a counterintuitive idea, but it's one that is played out time and time again. To really get a handle on this, the source compares today's market to the massive COVID crash. We all remember that, right? It was called an extreme event. Well, the argument here is that technically speaking, Bitcoin is even more oversold right now than it was back then. So if you're one of those people who said, man, I wish I'd bought during that COVID crash, well, this might be your moment. And this quote from Anthony Scaramucci, man, it just hits the nail on the head. He's saying this isn't some crazy world-ending event, it's a garden variety correction. And he points to Amazon, one of the most successful companies in history, which dropped by half 8 times in its early days. It's a powerful reminder that this kind of wild ride is often just the price of getting in early on something new. So, if everyday investors are panicking, what about the big fish, the institutional giants with all the money? Let's take a look at what they're doing behind the scenes. Well, get this. According to an analyst from a Charles Schwab affiliate, the pros think the bottom is already in. And they're not just sitting on the sidelines watching. Nope. They're actively going long, which is just a fancy way of saying they're betting prices are about to go up. And how are they doing that? Well, the source lays out a few of their strategies. They're selling puts, which is basically a bet that the price won't fall any further. They're adding to their bullish positions. And because they're sitting on huge piles of cash, things like margin calls don't scare them. In fact, they see all these liquidations not as a disaster, but as a good thing, a healthy recovery that flushes out all the risky leverage in the system. And then there's this. And it is a potential bombshell. Now, let's be clear. This is an unconfirmed report. But the word is that President Trump might be buying Bitcoin for the U.S. Strategic Reserve. I mean, if that turns out to be true, that would be absolutely game-changing. We're talking about Bitcoin going from a speculative asset to a strategic national reserve, just like oil. Okay, let's switch gears for a minute and zoom in on one specific asset, Ethereum. Because honestly, if you're only looking at the price of ETH right now, you are missing a huge part of the story. Just look at this contrast. It's kind of wild. On the one hand, yeah, the price is down big, over 60% from the top. But on the other hand, a really key metric for network health, the number of monthly active addresses, just hit a brand new all-time high. So the price is down, but more people are actually using the network than ever before. That's a huge divergence. And this right here, this might be the most powerful slide of them all. This shows the line to stake Ethereum. On the left, that tiny little bar, that's the amount of ETH that wants to get out of staking, just 32,000. Now look at the right. That massive bar is the ETH waiting in line to get in. That's 4 million ETH. Let me just put that in perspective for you. The source boils it down to this. For every one single ETH that's trying to get out, there are 127 waiting to get in. That shows an absolutely incredible level of long-term belief from the people who hold it. They're not panicking. They're locking up their investment for the long haul. Okay, for our last part, let's pull the camera way, way back. Forget the daily price charts for a second. Our source material lays out this really grand long-term vision for what Bitcoin could ultimately become. And the argument is that Bitcoin isn't just one thing. It's actually like 3 massive revolutions all rolled into one. First, it's a new kind of money system for the whole world, one based on math instead of politicians. Second, it's a whole new tech layer for the internet. And third, its rise has helped us figure out who the major players in this whole new space are going to be. And who are those major players? Well, according to the source, the market is starting to settle on the big 3. The ones that look like they're here for the long haul. Bitcoin, Ether, and Solana. So here's the bottom line. Our source material makes a pretty compelling case that underneath all the scary headlines and the red charts, there's a story of deep conviction from long-term believers and smart money making big moves. It argues that what looks like chaos on the surface might actually be a historic opportunity in disguise. So after seeing all this, the real question isn't just what the market is going to do. It's what do you see?